I'm Peter Marsh, and it is time for another Aether and ATX video. By the way, I just got a cat like 2 days ago, so you'll probably see him. He might even knock over, there he is, right there. His name's Tux. But he's probably going to knock over this stand that has my phone on it, so you'll probably see me awkwardly have to fix my phone. Or I'll just start over again, we'll see. I like to do these videos that are on the fly. They are my thoughts about consciousness, reality, things like that. And what I've done for the past 2 videos is I've just read directly from a document that I've written. And the documents are little epiphanies that I have, and I just write them down in the moment. I've noticed that for my YouTube channel, it has, my views have just gone down pretty much with every single video. I think it's probably because there's a gap of time between each video, and also it's just me talking like this on my couch. There's nothing fancy whatsoever. I think it doesn't help that I'm just literally reading from a computer, at my phone. But I do these videos because I feel like there's something helpful in them. I feel like if someone watches them, they can take at least one little piece of what I say and use it to question their life and why they do certain things. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about 2 things. I basically had 2 separate ideas last night that I wanted to talk about. One is the concept of, are we fulfilling our human potential just by procreating and having children that will be able to procreate, right? That seems to be the main biological goal, is for us to survive long enough to create offspring that will also be able to survive and procreate, right? So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is talking about the present moment and the idea that there is no such thing as the past and the future. So they're not related, really, right? 2 separate ideas that I had. Just want to get them out there to you. There's probably going to be a cat walking across. I think I mentioned this already before, but his name is Tux, and he's pretty freaking awesome. All right, I'm just going to read from my computer. Hope you like this content. Like I've said before, just put this on in the background. Just listen to this while you're doing your laundry, or you're going for a walk, or you're driving somewhere in your car. You're not going to see anything exciting here, but hopefully you'll hear something that makes you go, huh. We'll see. Okay, here's the one about procreation. Ready? Every human that is alive now is the product of humans that procreated. There is DNA that didn't continue because people didn't have the chance to mate. What percentage of humanity existing now is the product of sexual assault? Oh wow, I probably shouldn't. This is going to be on YouTube. I probably should have censored myself. But, okay. The reason why I'm saying this, on YouTube you're supposed to say things like grape and stuff like that. But I basically was thinking about how what humanity is right now is the offspring of people that have procreated in the past, and that procreation itself has not been this like love-filled, noble thing every single time. Besides sexual assault, which I just got to right away in this little document that I wrote, besides that, there's also just the idea that people might have had kids together and quickly fell out of love, and they didn't raise kids in a loving household. There's countless situations where people were forced to be together, maybe because of their culture or their circumstances, and they had a child together, and, there wasn't any love there. And to think that, these people procreated, right? These people had the children, and, humanity as a mass is made up of people that are coming from all different sources. Of course, there's, countless examples of loving marriages and loving households that produced children. But that's not the only thing, right? There's all these different sources that have led to what the collective humanity is right now. All right, here we go. How many people have procreated not because they were forced to physically, but because they felt like they had no choice? So humanity is just based upon who procreated. And there's all these good people, miraculous people, that never procreated. Okay, so just think of, the people that you admire, your heroes, people that did incredible things in life, people that made amazing music, that were these larger-than-life personas, amazing writers, talented actors, you know, people that were military heroes, people that did incredible things but never procreated. And so their genes ended with their death. They're not a part of our gene pool anymore, right? But these people aren't lost, because maybe they made art or they left an impression on those that did procreate. So that's how art is just as valid as science, and empathy is a biological survival mechanism. The genes of the exceptional don't carry on if they die without children, but their efforts continue the survival of the species. Okay, so that's the point I was trying to get at. I'm going off script. I'm just going to say this right now. I think like the cynical mindset would be that only the strong survive, and only people that have had children have fulfilled their animal mission as a human to procreate and create offspring that can procreate as well. But I think that that's a very limited belief, and I think that the people that did not have children of their own influence us, even though their genetics have not gone on, right? I think that when we get into the problems of this world, and fascism is so powerful right now, and this sort of mindset of you have to be attractive so you can have a mate and you can have children to pass on your name and stuff, that is a very limited way of thinking, and it just discredits the value of art and efforts of people, right? You might have been influenced by a teacher that was super compassionate to you and made you view the world a certain way and question things, but that teacher never went on to have children, but they influenced you and the way that you act. And maybe you go on to have children, and maybe you pass on their beliefs. So the beliefs, the artwork, the passions of those who have not continued their genes because they didn't procreate, their essence still guides humanity. And I think that it is a sort of natural evolution of our genetics. I think that people would just dismiss this stuff and be just think about it, right? When it comes to schools, what's the first thing they cut when it comes to schools? They cut all the arts, because the arts don't seem to be as important as math and science, right? These tangible, physical things that have value and they make money. That's how you survive, right? You make money. But the arts, the idea, the hope, the questioning, the expansion of our minds, it's this extra layer, this other thing that has evolved along with us as we've physically evolved over thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Culture itself is an extension of it, and it's keeping us alive as a mass, as humanity. I don't know. Hopefully that's optimistic. All right, 8 minutes in, we're going to go into the next one. This one's going to be just as weird. And, of course, I went right to the top of this document, and the thing I wrote is at the bottom. Okay, here we go. So, okay. If consciousness can only occur in the present moment, then time truly doesn't exist. It's a circle we experience in the moment. The future impacts the past, but only when you consider your present to be a future of a past moment. So you're going to hear this sort of Doctor Who time travel-y kind of speak coming out of me. I'm going to say it kind of slowly so you can just kind of let it click. It's going to sound like nonsense, but it made sense to me last night. I consider 2026 Peter, that's me, right, to be the future Peter of the Peter of 2016. Okay, so let's just set that up. We're in the present, but I'm the future of the 2016 version of me, right? If present-day Peter made a novel about 2016 Peter, that is a Peter from the future, well, I say my name a lot in this, to 2016 Peter, telling the story of 2016 Peter with all the knowledge of what happens between 2016 and 2026. Okay, so do you understand that, if I was to write a story about myself that took place in 2016, if I wrote an autobiography, I would have all of the knowledge of things that have happened since 2016 and it would influence the story that took place in 2016, no matter what. And I understand it's just a story, but let's keep going with this, okay? Present-day Peter is the future to all versions of Peter. I keep saying my name, but that's because I'm using me as the example. Just insert your name here. Present-day Peter is the Present-day Peter is the future to all versions of Peter that lived before this moment. So I'm currently at the edge of time, just like you, but it feels like there is time beyond the present. It feels like there's time beyond this, right? A future. Peter from the past has made predictions for Peter all the way to his death. You, right? You've made predictions for the rest of your life. This is going to happen when I'm 60. This is what's going to happen on my deathbed, right? You've imagined these things at some point, right? And that has influenced your mindset, right? Here's me talking about myself again. And that has influenced the mindset of past Peter, like when people talk in third person. So 2016 Peter might have guessed the death of Peter being in 2076. I give myself a lot of time there. And he imagined everything that might happen between 2016 and 2076. And those imaginings led to physical sensations. So I imagined these things. It gave me a physical reaction. And then those physical reactions were connected to words that I've learned over the course of my life. And the connection between the way I feel and those words are what we would consider thoughts. Okay? And those thoughts circle me in the present day. Your thoughts circle you in the present day. Right? My present is 2016 Peter's future. Retro causality. My imagined future, when I was in 2016, I imagined the future. It generated thoughts in my past for right now, and I experienced those thoughts in the present day. It's a loop, okay? So what the hell am I talking about? This sounds like nonsense. Your consciousness, you are only conscious in the present moment. This is a thing that people that talk about manifesting talk about all the time. There's only one moment. It's the present moment, right? Now, you certainly experienced things in the past to this moment. And you're like, I remember that. I remember that feeling that day. I remember that. But you're not in that moment, right? You're just in the present moment. And that's the only way, based on your senses, to experience something is in the present. The present will become the past. I'm going to remember making this awkward YouTube video a couple of days from now. But right now, we're in the present. And I can make predictions, you can make predictions of what your future is going to look like based on the information you currently have. So you predict your future, and you think about what's going to happen to you, and my cat's going to knock this thing over. Okay, you just missed it. Because you're making those predictions of the future, your future is influencing your present. And then your present becomes your past, right? So it's just basically this loop, right? And the thoughts that you have in your past are the stepping stones that essentially like hold up your present, right? So you're only ever experiencing the present moment, but you are imagining your future. You're thinking about what's going to happen based on what has happened so far and what you kind of expect. And of course, you can have a cynical view of your future. You can have an optimistic view of the future. You can be somewhere in the middle. But that view is based upon what you experienced in the past, right? Like him? That's Tux right there. So, I guess I don't really know how to wrap this up. Like, this is basically stuff where I wish that there was someone that is much more well-read than I am, could just kind of come in and be like, okay, I get this point that you're trying to make here, and let me elaborate on it, right? But I think the idea is that the past and the present, the past and the future do not exist. You're only living in the present moment, but your ideas of each thing, of the past and the future, influence you in the present moment and make you who you are. So, does that make sense? Probably not. What do you think, Tux? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'd love to hear someone's thoughts on any of this stuff. You know, I'd love some comments. And if you've made it this far and I'm somewhat interesting to you, you can always check out my other 2 YouTube channels. I have the Lasser Cast, where me and my friend Danny discuss horror movies and streaming shows. And then I also have Comic Books Transformed, where me and my friend Brian talk about comics that have been adapted into movies and streaming shows. So it's not as weird on those channels, and we talk about fun things. Anyway, I'm so very grateful that you watched this whole video, and I hope that you all have a good rest of your day.